Major news on the Lively Baldoni docket.
Taylor Swift is being called in. According to court documents obtained by Us Weekly, the Bejeweled singer has agreed to be questioned by
Justin Baldoni will depose Taylor Swift for this Blake Lively lawsuit. This is a crazy turnaround. You're going to want to hear about this.
Justin Baldoni has hired new lawyers, and their background may surprise you. Also, new details about Taylor Swift we need to discuss.
Here's the real headline. A federal judge just denied Justin Baldoni's bid to depose Taylor Swift, and that single ruling reshapes the momentum. No more speculation about a blockbuster testimony. The court said the defense didn't show enough diligence to extend discovery, so the door closed. That matters because it strips out the celebrity noise and forces both sides back to the core claims, the documents, and the credibility battles that actually decide cases. When a judge signals discipline, the party that adapts fastest usually gains quiet, lasting leverage.
Now, how does Taylor come into all of this? Well, she was named in court documents Justin filed. He believes that Blake leveraged people like her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and celebrity friends like Taylor Swift in order to persuade him to make the changes she wanted on the film.
Quick favor before we go deeper. If you appreciate fast, clean breakdowns grounded in filings and facts, tap like now, and tell me one question you still have about this case. Comments help me target the next update, and your questions often point straight to the next twist. That tiny action keeps this kind of reporting alive and helps more people see the full picture, not just the loudest headline. All right, let's unpack how we got here, why it matters, and what it sets up next. Why did Taylor Swift matter at all? Not because she produced or directed anything, she didn't. Her link is indirect. A licensed song and close friendship with Blake Lively. For the defense, a Swift deposition would have been a perception play, even if the answers were narrow. A high-profile witness can shift public tone, spook negotiations, or open a new line of questions. The judge's denial removes that oxygen. It's not just a lost witness, it's a lost narrative beat. Now the case lives or dies on paper, timelines, and sworn statements.
Taylor Swift never set foot on the set of this movie. She was not involved in any casting or creative decisions, and on about how busy and uninvolved she was.
The court's message was simple. Timelines rule. Judges are wary of last-minute detours, especially when the target witness sits on the edges of relevance. If you want an extension, show clean diligence, early notice, and real necessity. The defense argued availability in late October. Swift's side said there was no firm agreement. The judge looked at process, not star power, and said no. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's team secured a short discovery extension, pointing to late and heavy productions from Baldoni and Wayfarer. The subtext is clear: meet deadlines or lose optional moves.
As Justin has hired two new attorneys, Wayfarer has brought into their team Alexander Shapiro and Jonathan Bach.
Now to the chatter that lit up docket watchers, heavyweight appellate help. Notices associated with Alexandra Shapiro and Jonathan Bach surfaced, suggesting they've joined the defense orbit. Shapiro is known for surgical appeals and complex white-collar work, someone who preserves issues during the fight and reframes them for later review. Bringing in that caliber midstream is not cosmetic. It shapes how every sentence in every filing is written from here on out, with an eye toward both the trial judge and a future panel of appellate judges.
And Baldoni's legal team as part of the It Ends With Us director's ongoing legal battle with co-star Blake Lively.
What does that change in practice? Expect tighter objections, cleaner records, and motions drafted to survive beyond the first ruling. Appellate minds love checklists. Was the issue preserved? Is the standard of review favorable? Does the record tell a consistent story? That mindset can also stiffen settlement posture. If the defense believes some key rulings are reversible, they'll be slower to blink. If the plaintiff sees the court rewarding diligence and narrowing sideshows, they'll lean harder on discovery that builds a simple, persuasive trial story.
As a quick reminder, Blake accused Justin of sexual harassment and hiring a PR team to smear her in the press after she complained about his behavior on the set of the It Ends With Us movie.
Zoom out to the origin point. Blake Lively filed late last year with allegations she says show a pattern. Baldoni denies wrongdoing. Mid-year, the court dismissed Baldoni and Wayfarer's defamation countersuit against Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and others, shrinking the battlefield and pushing focus back onto the main complaint. Dismissed claims don't end the war, but they reduce the noise. From that moment, the case became less about public sparring and more about documents, dates, and who a jury believes when contemporaneous messages are read aloud.
This was all Blake, and she knew that the song would work, and she got Taylor to do it.
Discovery has been bumpy. There were late productions, disputed subpoenas, and a tug of war over depositions. Judges hate mess because it fogs the truth-finding mission. That's why the Swift ruling lands with extra weight. It sets the tone. No more celebrity detours, no more scheduled gymnastics. No more just one more witness unless the record demands it. When the tone shifts like this, smart teams switch gears. Fewer fireworks, more paper. Fewer press-ready moments, more foundation-building testimony. One under-the-radar order could loom large at trial. The judge compelled production of a signal chat tied to a website that promoted Wayfarer's complaint. That may sound niche, but it cuts to motive and coordination. If the messages show PR strategy braided too closely with legal moves, privilege arguments can crack and jurors can infer spin. If the threat is benign, the defense shrugs and moves on. Either way, it's a reminder that in modern cases, the line between public narrative and courtroom narrative is thin, and judges are watching.
But it goes beyond that. There are text messages that have been released which indicate that Blake Lively called Taylor Swift one of her dragons.
A new declaration also entered the record from someone who wasn't in the original complaint, alleging negative on-set conduct by Baldoni. It's an allegation, not a verdict, and it will be tested. But each added account helps the plaintiff argue a pattern, not an outlier. The defense calls it a smear and will attack timing, bias, and corroboration. That clash, pattern versus pushback, is exactly what juries weigh. Not who shouts loudest, but whose dots connect cleanly under oath. The calendar matters as much as any headline. Trial is set for March 2026. That sounds distant, but it's not. Between now and then, you'll see motions that decide what jurors hear and what gets left in the hallway. Miss a discovery window and a witness is gone. Win a motion in limine and an entire topic disappears at trial. This is chess with deadlines for pieces. The Swift denial is one such move. It eliminates a flashy piece and forces a quieter, tighter endgame.
Oh my God! Ah! Ryan Reynolds' second wife is no longer close to Taylor Swift, but Taylor Swift is close to a lot of relevant information that can help Justin Baldoni.
Don't ignore the money. Cases like this burn fees fast. Multiple parties, outside consultants, subpoena fights, experts. Insurance coverage skirmishes can pop up as carriers parse what's truly covered conduct versus reputational warfare. If coverage narrows, defense pressure rises to cut costs. If coverage holds, resolve hardens. Settlement math is never just about principle. It's about risk tolerance, runway, and which side believes the record will age well in front of a jury.
Swift never agreed, but will appear if she's forced.
What must each side actually prove? The plaintiff wants jurors to see a consistent arc, documents, messages, and testimony that feel like a culture and not a one-off. The defense wants friction, context, contradictions, and reasonable doubt about intent. Judges aren't grading vibes, they're enforcing rules. That's why procedural discipline suddenly matters so much. This week wasn't about catching a superstar in a conference room. It was about whether the case can stay inside the lines. What should you watch next? Expert designations. Motions about what comes in and what stays out. Any renewed privilege fights around PR and messaging. And listen for tonal shifts. If the defense leans more appellate, you'll hear issue preservation in the phrasing. If the plaintiff senses judicial patience for tight records, you'll see more methodical, timestamp-heavy filings. Less heat, more sequence. Less sizzle, more receipts.
And obviously, there has been a lot of speculation around the deterioration of Taylor and Blake's friendship. And I would say based on this, it's not looking good. When there's more, I'll let you know. Stay tuned.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. Real litigation looks boring until it detonates. Weeks of document squabbles set up one reveal that changes the room temperature. The Swift ruling was that kind of reveal, not flashy, but decisive. It told everyone to stop chasing celebrity shadows and finish the record. Cases like this are won on calendars, transcripts, and credibility. The side that takes that to heart tends to win the close calls that add up to a verdict. Your turn. If you had one question for one insider, director, publicist, line producer, or the person who ran that signal chat, who would you pick and what would you ask? Drop it below. The smartest questions usually point straight to the next filing, and if this breakdown helped, tell a friend who's been trying to follow the noise. The next chapter is coming, and it will be decided by what's on paper, not who trends on a Tuesday. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment with the single missing answer you want me to chase next. Your support keeps these deep dives coming, and your questions shape the next one.